On this episode of AV Week, holy cow, the Microsoft Surface is finally shipped. Also talk about Enterprise Connect and the Dante Via. All that and more, next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
AV Week is brought to you by our fine group of underwriters, companies like Advanced AV. This is AV Week, episode 239, recorded Friday, March 25th, 2016. Terry Trunk Slammer.
Ready.
AV Week.
Performing scan.
AV Week.
Online.
This is AV Week. AV Week. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us this week, Miss Lindsey Adler from SEN Magazine. How are you, ma'am?
Very well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Also with us, our buddy and pal and frequent writer for actually Lindsey and AVNation as well, Mr. Mike Brandis from Vadia. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me on. It's good to be back.
And a newbie, so you two be nice to him. His name is Orion Madsen from Tech Electronics from the beautiful city of St. Louis, Missouri. Welcome, Orion.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. This is Good Friday. If you celebrate the Good Friday thing, so Good Friday to you. We're recording this on Good Friday. 90% of the time when we do this show, there is no what I would call breaking news. It has happened from time to time. This would be one of those times. So I got an email from a reporter friend of mine and said, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. So, oh my gosh, the Microsoft Surface Hub is shipping. Holy crap. All right. So, and Craig McCormick writes, finally after 9 months after showing the Surface Hub in InfoComm 2015. They released it. It was on their blog for devices by a guy by the name of Brian Hall. I am not going to read this entire press release. Right, just not going to happen. He basically goes on to say he's very proud of his team. He's very proud of what they try to accomplish, trying to save people money, and way down here. Oh yeah. It's finally shipping to our business partners. Awesome. Great. Groovy. Again, this is after I've stopped counting how many times that they have delayed. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, last year at InfoComm, they said it was releasing in July, if I'm not mistaken. Then they delayed it again until farther on to fall, and then the first of the year. This year at ISE, which they exhibited last year, they didn't exhibit. They were present in the AVI SPL booth, but they didn't have a stand themselves. So, Mr. Brandis, we'll start with you. Is it good that they've delayed it? Is it bad that they've delayed it? What do we think about the fact that Microsoft has finally said, yay, now you can have this product that we've been talking about for almost 2 years?
Well, first of all, it's never a bad thing when you ship product because that's usually how you generate revenue. So it's good for them to do that. I can tell you, working for a manufacturer and having spoken with a number of manufacturers over the years, as a customer, as someone writing articles about them, every single company has this same internal struggle with the go-to-market strategy. When do we release versus is it ready to go? Can we update it later? Microsoft hopefully saw that, especially at InfoComm, that it was nowhere near ready to go, from my personal opinion with it. And they wisely held off. I did have a chance to play around with it at not only AVI SPL and Whitlock's booths, but also the Microsoft booth and the SPS Communications booth at Enterprise Connect a few weeks ago. It's a lot more stable. That being said, it's still a Windows machine, so there's just a level of stability that people are going to have to get used to. We see it all the time in digital signage and things like that, where the system's just going to crash. Linux computers do that. It's a computer that's going to happen. I hopefully the key with any go-to-market strategy is you get the product out the door and it stays out the door. So hopefully waiting this long keeps it out the door. They don't take back 90% of their first run units.
All right, Lindsey, from your standpoint, you've been covering this since the beginning. What do you think about the fact that it's we're 2 months out of Infocom and they're releasing it now and shipping it to their partners?
I think it's great. I think delaying it is always a good idea. Also, if the product's not ready, don't roll it out so that we can all have problems with it in the marketplace and nobody's going to want to buy it eventually. And in terms of this being announced, it's been every other month we get it's almost shipping, or it's shipping this quarter. Or, at ISE they told me it was shipping that month in February. So we knew it was really close. So it wasn't a huge surprise, but I guess it is kind of the most breaking story in a quiet week. And to me, I'm ready to see the next steps. I mean, they've sold a lot of them from what I've heard, the partners have. So I think customers have been anxiously awaiting the arrival of them. So let's see how that goes. Let's see the delivery of them to the customers and the integration and see how the businesses are actually benefiting from it versus, some of these other collaborative display solutions on the market already. So we're more, looking forward to seeing it in action.
That's a really good point, Lindsey, is that this probably shouldn't be the story. The story should be in a couple of weeks once they do take possession and start integrating them and see how the actual end users start using them. So, Orion, from your standpoint as an integrator, what do you think about the fact that they're finally releasing them to the wild?
So they may actually be doing this at a good time. We, in the past, have used Infocus's MondoPad, which is a competing product, and they just stopped shipping their 80-inch units. I had a project a few months ago where they promised, it'll ship at the end of the month, and then the normal it'll ship at the end of the month. Well, it didn't come, and they delayed it till like July. Wow. So it may be a good time for them to be available and get in. But as far as the first product, I'll believe it when I get it here on the dock. So.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of been my back and forth. Craig McCormick, he's a good buddy, and I'm blessed in the fact that I have a lot of reporters and editors like Lindsey that I can count as friends. And Craig has been following this story forever, and he said something on Twitter the other day about it, and I told him, I said, you know what, look, I'm going to get a sub $1,000 OLED before you get a Surface Hub. I'm glad I didn't bet on anything like that. Let's just put it that way. All right, let's kick on. So Chief is doing something interesting, and Chief is owned by Milestone. Milestone is one of our very nice underwriters. They released something about a week ago. They're starting a digital signage group, and it's being headed up by Frank Pisano, who's the director of U.S. sales for Chief. He's not moving out of that role, right? This is kind of a additional duties. But what's interesting about this is the digital signage over the last 2 or 3 years has kind of grown to the point where Chief has almost had to do this. AVNation went to the digital signage, the New York Digital Signage Week back in November. Chief was there. A couple other companies were there. Peerless was there, and PrimeView was there. So I was pleasantly surprised. Barco was there at the number of people that I would consider Infocom-centric companies, people that have significant booths, were involved with Digital Signage Week, Chief being one of them. Actually, Frank was one of the folks that were there. Lindsey, from your standpoint, how significant is it the fact that Milestone and Chief specifically are putting all this this focus and this new group into the digital signage market?
Yeah, I think it's a really smart move for them, and I think there's a fair amount of disconnectedness in the digital signage market and a lot of opportunity. And it sounds like I'm kind of surprised more people don't do this, actually. It was like, oh, that's interesting. People don't do that already? It just is this sign of, bundling more services to make everyone's lives easier. Although I have to say, I was a little bit unsure of the impact on the integration channel in particular, because it talks about helping the manufacturers and the end users and the content providers. And their chief is essentially going to be acting as a partner and a consultant. So I would hope that that all includes the integrators and AV consultants also, and isn't any kind of challenge to them. So that was kind of one question that I had. But Frank Pisano, of course, is really, really smart person. So I think that bodes well for this program as well. And again, I'm this is kind of my attitude toward everything. Really, is okay. This is interesting. Let's see what happens with it. Let's see how people are using it. I want to talk to the customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Orion, from your standpoint, you are an integrator. So does this help you package together digital signage products? Having Chief bring things together.
Potentially, it's kind of all about how they fit in that puzzle. If they're going to act as a consultant between, the content providers and the screens and the, whoever's box you decide to put behind it. Everybody, when they want to do digital signage, they think that the big hurdle is, let's go put a display on the wall and put a box behind it. That's the easy part. It's all about the content you're going to put on it. And I produce video as a hobby as well. And yeah, companies never realize how big of a expense and effort it can be to produce custom content for their digital signage. So if they can kind of help steer that and have places for them to go, I think it could be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Brandis, from your standpoint as a manufacturer, how does this work when you're trying to pull things like this together? Vadio has a number of different products, and you guys have partnered with folks before. How does that all work when you take that to the integrator and say, here's a nice package for you?
That's a really great question. First of all, what we want to do as manufacturers, and I'm sure Chief would agree with this, and everybody hopefully would agree with this, is we want to have happy customers. Our happy customers are the people that are going to be receiving the digital signage installations in this particular instance, as well as the integration channel. Those are our two happy customers that we care about. So we want to, and I'm sure Chief the same wants to deliver, an all-inclusive solution, stuff that's going to work, things that, if they're going to be the hardware company that's bringing all the people together, that's fine. A lot of times it's very frustrating to get everybody together and get everything set. So it'd be interesting to see how it plays out from our standpoint. Vadio, we do this with other manufacturers time and time again. A customer calls and says, I need this solution, and we throw our parts into the ring. Then we get Crestron, Extron, AMX into the ring, and we get other people into the ring, and we say, okay, here's your parts list. And then, how many times have, end users done this in a bid process, gone to manufacturer for design assistance, and then released it out for bid to a number of, integrators? That's the future. That's kind of, especially as the platforms continue to be the biggest headache, like Orion was saying, the AV side of things will be one of the easier sides of the thing. So if we can kind of coordinate and not get lost in the shuffle, that's always a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's turn our attention to a piece that actually Mr. Brandis wrote for Lindsey. That's kind of neat how that worked. So you went to Enterprise Connect, and if you're not familiar with Enterprise Connect, it used to be called VoiceCon. So this is a telecommunications conference, right? And obviously it has migrated over the last few years into a VTC show and somewhat of an AV technology show. First question for you is why does Vadio go to Enterprise Connect?
Well, that's a great question. We've been, from the beginning, kind of one of the first companies that really built professional audio and video devices for with USB connectivity in mind. From a few years ago when we had the We're Easy USB campaign with a camera, microphones, and a mixer amp, products that have become mainstays in just about every soft conferencing integration over the past 4 or 5 years. This is the next logical step. So a few years ago there was Skype for Business was making slow inroads and was going to be the thing of the future, and Cisco had Jabber, and so there was a lot of talk of USB video kind of reaching the enterprise. This year it was kind of more of an explosion. Cisco's long been a hardware provider, everything from handset telephones to codecs, as we know, for years with their acquisition of Tandberg. But they kind of put their entire keynote on Cisco Spark. this year, their computer-based platform, showing how it integrates with their codecs, and really hailing it as the future of their model. So, 5, 7, 10 years down the road, would hardware be a huge portion of Cisco's collaboration division? Probably not. With a computer, probably. So for companies like us, there were a number of other AV manufacturers there, both on the USB side and on the collaboration side, like Oblong, and Prism, companies like that build huge collaborative displays. It was just, the future is moving towards the computer more and more. Vadio's been saying it for 5 years, and we've been getting kind of pushed back. But the thing is, the AV channel, and I was having this conversation with a number of people, and this is kind of why I wrote the article, is the AV channel buys in 5s and 10s, and the IT channel buys in 5,000s and 10,000s. So I had a talk with an IT distributor that I used to buy from as an end user, as a technology manager, and we talked about it. He's like, well, I don't see any reason why theoretically we wouldn't buy 500 of these and just put them out there when we need them. That's kind of how the IT channel operates, which is a different model than how the AV channel operates. So with the IT channel starting to embrace the USB connectivity instead of it being kind of the bastard stepchild of enterprise communication, it is going to do huge things for audiovisual manufacturers and integrators and resellers and distributors. Probably realistically seeing it in the next year, and then it becoming completely commonplace in the next 2 to 3 years, probably.
Okay, so as both an exhibitor and obviously you were able to walk around and see what all was there, why should integrators care about this show?
First of all, integrators should care about the show, because if they don't, manufacturers are going to start selling through the IT channel, and the integration channel will die. That's number one. That's a big one. AV is becoming incredibly commoditized today, in terms of the difference for your average installation. We see it. I see it all the time on LinkedIn. We're the furniture company that does AV, so we know about the project first, and we're going to get it done right. Or the electrical company that does AV. Or everyone's got an AV division now. Yeah. Terry Trunk Slammer Contractor.com has an AV division. I'm sure they can put a TV on a wall. They can fish a cable through the wall and put an HDMI plate on a table. That doesn't require a separate industry to do. So if I'm a manufacturer and I'm looking at ways that I can grow my business by leaps and bounds, I'm taking a hard look at the IT channel. I'm taking a hard look at the people that are going to go out there and put in, a new communication system for a Fortune 500 company with 35 offices across, 10 countries. That's the future. That's where the proprietary codec manufacturers were living for a long time, was the IT channel. And by the way, the AV channel sold, I'm sure some decent percentage of money for them, but that's where the money is. The money is in shows like this, and the clients that it attracts, and the buyers, that it attracts. When you're sitting in a room with the head of, the CTO of Motorola, or the CTO of, Bloomberg, that's not something that we should really be shaking our head at as an industry that's grasping at straws to remain relevant and kind of nip at the heels of IT in terms of, take us seriously, please. And we're not going to accomplish that by, ditching out on the serious, important enterprise level stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Orion, as a company that does a lot of these different things, Tech Electronics not only does AV installations, they do IT ones, they do security, all sorts of things. Is this an area that you guys have to pay attention to?
Yeah, I've had a lot of significant amount of customers kind of looking for a place to go, and as an integrator, there's not a whole lot of cost competitive options. As Mike was saying, AV is becoming kind of commoditized. So a lot of times we're supplying, something like a service hub or a Mondo pad or some sort of PC device. And then the end user is going to go out and find their own communications platform, unless they need a specialized set of features. But every platform has so many different feature sets and how they work and what hardware you need, and everything's going away from from bridges, just due to the cost. So if people can have a place to go to find that information and actually get to play with it and talk to people, I think that'd be really great.
This kind of goes back to the conversation we're having about the chief digital signage. If AV can be the party that drives all the wagons together in the circle, that delivers not only the physical installation, but I'm sure that integration firms out there can sell licensing to Blue Jeans and Cisco Spark, and you probably are buying your Skype for Business licensing directly from Microsoft. But one of the things we're missing as an industry and desperately in need, and it's in there in the article, is the services side. You know, everyone's got a white glove service that they have that, you know, we sell this video conferencing solution, which some of us all know is the same common backend. But what we're missing is when a company says, hey, I want to put Skype for Business for my 900 employees, you know, they are going to have to go somewhere else because we don't know how to set up Skype for Business. That's a huge revenue stream we're missing out on because, you know, sure, we may get 20 TVs and a few nooks behind TVs and, you know, 20 audio cameras and wonderful audio microphones with it, but we're missing the AV industry and the integration firms missing out on the potential for millions of dollars in professional services on a yearly basis, you know, for installations like these.
All right, Lindsey, how do we help them? You know, Lindsey's SCN magazine is a huge magazine for integrators and system contractors. How do we help them get there?
Well, covering Enterprise Connect is one way.
Totally.
But this show is so interesting to me. I've had my eye on it the last couple of years, and it just seems like the type of show that integrators should be going to. I don't know if Mike has any perspective on integrators that he saw there, or if they are starting to notice. I mean, other than the AVI SPLs and the Whitlocks that have booths there, but you know, people like Orion walking that floor. I can't wait. There's so much that we can learn from them, really. And in terms of the services that Mike was talking about, we have grown the conversation about that a lot in the AV industry, I think. And I know at SCN we try it a lot too. And, you know, we get a little bit of pushback. We got a lot of people who get it too. And this just seems like the prime place to really figure it out for them. I'd love to see an Enterprise Connect Pavilion at Infocom or vice versa, really. I mean, there should be more cross-pollination, I think, between these shows because, you know, as we get more and more converged, and you see it from the manufacturers who have increasingly more the last couple of years, the AV manufacturers like, you know, the Vadios and the Oblongs and who are appearing at this show now. I mean, those people who are doing that, especially the ones who got in early, are really smart, and I've seen it grow every year, so it'll be interesting to see the pace of that growth at that show. And we should all be going, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't disagree with that at all. And that's one of those things that I'm interested to see. You know, how many integrators are going to this show. Obviously, we talked to Vadio about this, and Oblong. We talked with Penny Sittler from Draper about another show, Green Build, and it's another show that it's talking about, you know, green buildings and LEED and stuff, but it's another show that is not AV centric, where AV companies, again, traditional AV companies, are going to exhibit their wares and connect with folks who aren't inherently, you know, AV centric 100%. So it'd be kind of interesting to watch all these different shows. So
one of the biggest things I think is missing with AV IT convergence is just the more frequent interaction between those two sides of the industry. So, you know, for AV people to go to a more traditional IT show and vice versa, I think that would just benefit them tremendously, just to be able to interface with them in their environment and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to do a story here, and it's one that I'm interested in because I got introduced to Dante Via at ISE, actually, and what it is, and I say I'm going to try to do this. So let's, if you're watching the video or you're listening and I do something stupid, then just bear with me because I actually have Dante Via installed.
We're going to get a live demo?
Well, sort of. So, okay, so close that. Okay, so if you're watching the video, so here's the interface for Dante Via. You have audio sources and you have audio destinations. And I have two computers at the AVNation studios, my 5x5 little room here. And the one that we're talking through now is what I refer to as my internet one. It's what we use Google Hangouts on. The other one is a recording device. It's what I use to record it. So if the other one was running as well, you would see both the other computer as a source as well as a destination. What you can do is notice that we have Google Chrome here. I actually have Opera open for our articles, and we can send that actually to any place. If we had iTunes opened up, we could send iTunes only out to the other computer. So you can pick per application, which is unique in the fact that a typical A to D to D to A converter, analog to digital converter, you're sending the entire audio out of the computer, right? Everything that comes out of this box is going to go to the audio to digital converter, right? So that's the Google part here. If we were playing music from iTunes, what have you, what this thing does is you can pick and choose what you want to send out of the computer. And from someone who has a recording set up here, that's interesting. But from a home or office or live sound Dante setup, that's also interesting in the fact that you could have a video server and an audio server running on the same device, send one Dante stream out to your home stereo system and the other one out to your 5.1 surround sound system. What's also interesting about this is the price. I want to say, is it $50 or $100 per license?
I think it's about 50.
For per computer, $50. Lindsey, when it comes to networked audio, how big of a deal is this?
It's a huge deal. I mean, they're making it so accessible, and they're already kind of leading the industry, known for that. There's so many products that are Dante enabled now, and now they're making it so it's kind of a no-brainer for any live sound guy, any kind of application really. I mean, it has broad application possibilities to use this, and even if you're not sure, it's like, well, why not? I'll give it a try for $50.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what they're going for, really, is that people are going to give it a try. It's going to make it a lot more accessible for any kind of person in the industry. And I think the deployments are just going to grow too. But to me, it just seems like it's becoming easier and easier to use Dante. That's something that they're really working on. And there are different facets of that too. We're actually doing a webinar soon with Audinate and also Symmetrics that is just.
And if you're not familiar, Audinate is the overarching company that is kind of not the marketing arm of Dante, but the guys that actually put it out and are looking forward. So,
worked audio type of thing. Am I going in and out again?
A little bit. But when is the webinar? When is the webinar?
When is the webinar? Oh shoot! It is in 2 or 3 weeks. Just one moment here. April, March 30th.
March 30th. Okay, so next week. All right, very good. Orion, as an integrator, somebody that's putting in Dante devices, how big of a deal is this Via thing?
Seems like a huge deal. I think it's a good move on Audinate and Dante's part to have a low cost of entry point where people can kind of, like you're saying, they can say, well, what the heck, I'll spend $50 and try it out and see how it works. And then that may lead them into, hey, I tried that at, my home studio or my little recording thing. Now I want to integrate that into my, live sound rig or anything that way. It's a great move to get them into that. I have seen Dante growing in the past. It's nice to start to see everyone kind of converging on one platform. That makes the integration side of things easier. And as far as IT in general, we used to see a few years ago, customers were always, no, we want you to put your AV network on a totally separate, isolated network. We want nothing to do with it. Now it's the complete opposite. Now we want one network to manage. We want everything on our network. Don't put more switches in. And so being able to utilize Dante with that low of a cost of entry is great. Can you interface, I assume, that Dante Via with any other normal Dante endpoint?
Yes, sir. Yeah. The one thing I was telling you guys beforehand, the microphone I use I like the microphone I have, so that's why I have it. But it's analog. It goes through a board. The one thing I don't have yet, and I need to get, is a Dante interface for my mic. Because until then, I could talk all day long, and you guys wouldn't hear me if I had the Dante thing going on back and forth. There's a number of companies that sell little matchbox size devices. You plug in an XLR, you plug it into the network, and suddenly you have another Dante interface. So yeah, anything that's Dante, you can send it in and out. Yeah, that's a kind of neat thing. Mr. Brandis, you guys have done a number of I shouldn't say networking things, but both audio and video, you can get stuff in and out onto the network. How important is keeping that network, I guess clear is the best way to say that, when it comes to making sure that the audio is going and the video both is going back and forth?
Well, I mean, it's incredibly important, obviously, to keep it clear so it works. We believe in the value of IP streaming. We believe in the value of not only having it as a courtesy output, but that in some universe it could be the theory of transmission, or the future of transmission, theoretically. Yeah. With wonderful companies like Hivision and SVSI by AMX out there on the decode and encode side, all of our cameras for the most part IP stream. We have bridging devices that bring in legacy audio and video devices and IP stream that, pretty soon we won't be talking about pulling cable, we'll just be talking about network endpoints, right? And that's the future, is audio and video over the network, like Orion mentioned, ideally one network to manage, where we have to interop and we have to bridge, whether it's Dante or answer your other favorite flavor of networked audio here. At some point we're going to have to discuss, real interop, and as all these endpoints talk to each other and bridge together to pretty much the only physical connection that we'd need in, 5 years, ideally, would be to a computer or to a recording device, if you're averse to using a CDN in the cloud, which I don't know why you would be, but some people are. So, we're slowly getting where we need to go, and this $50 price point is very interesting for your average, technology hobbyist. Whether you're using it in a studio application like you are, I'm using it to send audio from my computer while I'm working at home to my stereo system. Like, these are all great, low-end, low-cost applications where I can enjoy it, and then it allows me to see how easy it is to use, and then bide my time where I take it to my Dante-enabled DSP, and I'm routing all my audio in my rooms that way. Got Dante mics, Dante DSP, boom, everything's on the network, and we're slowly getting there, and I don't know, a few years we'll probably look back and think, what were we doing running so much balanced audio cable in and out of buildings and other structural cable? Why were we idiots?
Well, and there will be that one guy or gal who's an old sound person, and they'll still be bemoaning the fact that they've lost their analog, twisted pair, balanced mic line. So
I am that person.
I know. That's why I said that. So, all right, that's going to do it for us. Ms. Lindsey Adler, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
How can people find you or SCN?
Well, they can follow SCN on Twitter at SCNMag. You can follow me on Twitter at Lindsey Adler, and you can find all of our news at avnetwork.com.
avnetwork.com, not just SCN, but also the wonderful publication of AV Technology, edited by Marco DeWahi, and a lot of others. New Bay does a lot of really great magazines. So, Mr. Mike Brandis, how do people find you, sir?
You can find me at a number of places, avnetwork.com, when I write for SCN, the pages of SCN, occasionally the pages of AV Technology Magazine, AVNation.tv on occasion, MikeBrandisAV.com, and on Twitter at MikeBrandisAV. And that's a lot. And then professionally, you can tweet our company at Vadio, or get a hold of me that way if you want to.
All right, sir. Orion, thank you, sir. You did good job on the first time. How do people find you and or Tech Electronics?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk. Tech electronics. I mean, you can go to our website, techelectronics.com. Real hard to remember. Myself, I'm everywhere under different names and don't do a whole lot. So,
Right.
Feel free to reach out to me.
No, Tech Electronics is fine. That is plenty fine. So, all right. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me, but go by the website that Mr. Brandis mentioned, AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can find our wonderful underwriters that help make it happen, and watch all of our other shows. Got a brand new EdTech out in a new State of Control coming out pretty soon. So AVNation.tv, AVNation.tv. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This has been AV Week.